Hi again then guys, and welcome to another Forza Horizon 3 speed build, and this time, well, we're going to the top of the performance tree for the Koenigsegg 1-1. People who don't know about the performance of cars on Forza would probably assume, understandably so, that this would be the quickest car in the game. That's not the case, in fact it's not even close, but it's definitely not slow. In particular, the acceleration is extremely fast, and in that regard it is one of the quickest in the game, and also, surprisingly, the handling on this car can be made to be very, very impressive, especially given the amount of power and especially the amount of torque in particular that it has. Now, as far as the conversions, I would recommend having all-wheel drive very strongly on this car. I know there are some people who don't like that. If you are absolutely opposed to it, then of course leave it rear-wheel drive. But if you're not opposed to it, it makes such a huge improvement to the car. Because, in a similar way to my tune for the Venom GT, the Veyron Supersport, the purpose of a tune like this is not really to increase the top speed. Because with cars like this, you can't really improve the top speed that much. That's just not the way Forza's physics work. They don't allow you to do that. However, what you can do is you can make the rest of its attributes match up to that top end speed. In particular with a car like this, that is handling and launch. And with all-wheel drive, that allows you to actually have all of those attributes extremely strong. Now for the rest, there's not a huge amount that you can do to it, but just do whatever you can, basically. As you can see, I've left it with the stock rims. The reason for that is because none of the other rims are lighter anyway. So you could change them if you want. There are a few which weigh the same, but I quite like the stock ones anyway. Now, as far as the benchmark, I mentioned the acceleration in particular is one of this car's strongest points. 1.6 to 60, 2.8 to 100, and especially the top end stuff. The top end acceleration, of course, isn't quoted on the game, but 0 to 200, 0 to 250, those are the kind of acceleration times where this car really shines, because it just doesn't let up. It's relentlessly quick. Top end wise, it's not as quick as you'd probably hope it would be, but I personally wasn't surprised at all that it wasn't as quick as something like a Ford GT or an EB110 from Bugatti. It's just not that quick. I'm not surprised. Now, as far as the gearbox, I'd recommend a final drive of 3.15, then individual gears of 2.9, 1.95, 1.45, 1.14, 0.92 and 0.75. Then for the alignment, especially with all-wheel drive, you don't really need any camber and toe. You could give it some if you want to, and of course if you have rear-wheel drive it's helpful. As far as caster, I've got that on 5 degrees to stiffen it up a little bit. Anti-roll we've got on 40, front and rear. Springs on 158 and 248 with the ride height lowered as much as possible at the back, and still technically lower but stock at the front. Then for the dampers, we've got those on 12, 17, 6 and 8. You definitely want the downforce as low as possible, although of course if you plan to use it on a track where you need more handling, then you might want to reconsider that, but that's not the purpose of this tune. As far as the diff, we've got 100% on acceleration, as I often do, 0 for decel, and 75% is the rear split for this particular model. And as I always say, feel free to take that lower or higher as you personally need. Now this tune is, as you'd probably assume, on my storefront. You can use the keywords down below to find it, but now all that remains is to actually take the car out on the street to see what kind of improvements we've made. Now, I would say the tune setup on this particular car is actually much more similar to what I did with the Venom rather than the Veyron Supersport, because with the Veyron you already have all-wheel drive, you can improve the power, whereas with the Venom, adding all-wheel drive makes a huge help to the car, especially off the line, and you cannot upgrade the power. Likewise with this one, the power is the same, but you have that all-wheel drive advantage. Now overall, it's not a car which is going to beat every other supercar in the game, because it simply doesn't have the top end speed. However, it does get there incredibly quickly, and that is a huge advantage to have. Plus, the handling is outstandingly good. This car actually represents, I would say, a reincarnation, if you will, of how good the CCXR edition was on Horizon 1. That had very similar characteristics to this car. But overall, if you do decide to use this tune, I hope of course you have a lot of fun with it, and you can click through at the end of this video to see the whole list of my other tunes for Forza as well. But that's it overall for this pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.